mouth, better add your respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone. Throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back, to the KDL. I am State. Joined with me is Peter, and today marks the first day of the Kart Rider Drift League regular season. How you doing, Peter?
I am doing fantastic today because, like you said, today is such an important moment in the history of KDL, and I can't wait to get into the action.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of a sneak peek building up to this moment over the course of the year with KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2. Of course, you know, Liiv, SANDBOX, and KWANGDONG continuously battling head-to-head. But now, finally, we're here. It's the regular season. The stakes have never been higher. We have new players. We have new teams. We have a new patch. We have a new rule set. We have new maps. And I got to say, man, it's going to be a thrilling way to close out the year here for KDL.
Just as you put it, we have so many new things that we are essentially playing the best version of Kart Rider there is right now. So it's going to be exciting to see how the players have adjusted to these new teams and patches.
Yeah, let's take a look at the overview for what this season is going to shape up as we have a lot of Kart Rider left to be played, of course. Today, main stage beginning now, October 7th, all the way through December 9th, about 2 months of KDL action, and the postseason kicking off about 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, and it's really exciting that we now have a wild card in our postseason where the 5th place from the main stage will actually get to go against the 4th place, so I'm really looking forward to this new format.
Yeah, and notably, it's going to be every Wednesday and Saturday, 6 p.m., no longer Saturday and Sunday, so 2 days a week, 2 matches a week as opposed to the 3 we had before, and that's going to elongate the season a little bit. But it should be so much fun. I mean, there's so much to look forward to, whether it be, you know, rising stars on these new teams, the new and improved game mode that we have with the most recent patch, all the new content that's been delivered, and of course, Peter, prize pool. It's a lot bigger here in the regular season.
You have to motivate our pro players, right? And there's no better way than to hand them 100 million Korean won, which is equivalent to about 100K or 90K US dollars. And of course, a bit less for the following places. The new thing for us is the Fan Race MVP.
Yeah, Fan Race MVP. So at the end of every single team match over the course of this season, there's going to be a fan vote to choose the best player, the MVP from the winning team. And at the end of the season, we're going to tally up all those votes, figure out who had the most MVPs, and they're going to get another extra $500 dues in their pocket, about 500,000 Korean won, just for being the fan favorite there and delivering clutch performances for their team.
I really love that we have the MVP system now, because even if your team doesn't necessarily win, if you as a player stand out, I feel like that says a lot for you.
Yeah, and of course the pro teams coming into this one, these teams did not have to qualify there. The best of the best is the KWANGDONG Liiv, SANDBOX. No surprise there. Seongnam Rocks also with a tremendous preseason. And Mireille and Sejong, a new team coming into the fray, a little bit of a combination of a variety of amateur teams that we had in KDL preseason 2.
Amateur teams, but now turned into a pro team, and it's no surprise because their roster is super stacked. And of course, we have to mention our new amateur teams here that made it through the preliminaries. We have Team Always, Nutmite, FINALEe-sports, and Desperado.
Yeah, so not only do we have new teams, but also the rosters on these teams has been shaken up quite a bit. As we'll get a little bit more into detail on that as we finally get to see these teams face off. But it's always good to have new life coming into a game, whether it be new players, whether it be new teams, new formations of clubs like we're seeing right now. And with some of the rule changes that we have here for KDL regular season 1, the action is going to be very fun.
We love seeing all these new things coming into KDL, and I can't believe that we're already here getting ready for our first day.
Yeah, I think we got a video ready for you guys, so let's kick off KDL right. Oh, track list, excuse me. Let's go to the track list. I got a little bit ahead of myself. I'm very excited here.
Yeah, you wanted to come already.
I was ready for that video, man, but we're into the track list here for Team Speed. We got some new maps to feature for you guys. Of course, WKC delivering some good content as always. We're gonna have Mexico Touring Rally, Shanghai Circuit's been added, Village Handy Harbor, another new map entering the pro scene here, as well as some classics like Glacier Extreme Stadium, Terracotta Twister.
Yeah, and there's also one new track for World Tour, which is going to be Miami Drive, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I personally have never been to Miami.
You've never been to Miami?
Yeah.
I think I've been close to Miami, but not quite there. But I gotta say, it's a lot of fun when we see tracks like this that just feature all these different parts of the world, all these different biomes, these different cultures. It's so much fun to race on these tracks. And of course, Peter, don't get afraid if you're watching at home, but it is spooky season. It's already October here. We have some spooky maps for you too there in Team Item mode. Graveyard Dark Castle, Cemetery Circuit, really taking the top of this list for me.
And what you have to keep in mind is that now we have 6 tracks for each difficulty. Second, 2-level difficulty and 3-level difficulties are separated because the new items are now applied only to 3 difficulty maps and higher.
Yeah, with the new patch that came out for the new season, we have 3 new maps, or 3 new items, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But as you said, they're only going to be featured in the 3 difficulty star maps. So that veto system, when you're playing these team matches, when you're going through item mode, your picks and your bans, you might want to play a little bit differently. You might have to configure your strategy a little bit to try and choose which meta serves you best. Do you want to play with the new items? Do you want to ban the 2-star tracks to get as many 3-stars as you can? How do you want to play it? It's pretty complicated, man. A lot more strategy.
And not only that, in the patch notes, of course, we've come over here now to the official season of KDL where we have heroic cart bodies now, and of course that means you have 22 gears to optimize your stats differently. And another big change is that booster gauges. Previously, when you collided into a wall, you lost the gauge you were building up, but now it's maintained.
Yeah, so not only are we getting more gears, which make these cars faster, but also collisions are going to be less impactful for boost gauge. So you thought KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2 was quick. Let's wait and see what these pros can do with 22 gears. There's a lot of players already running with builds such as 7690, and I mean, the speed on that is incredible. Of course, the new items, as we mentioned, Big Banana, that thing is massive. It'll spin you out if you touch it. Siren, you activate this thing, you collide with another car, they are getting spun out, as well as a scanner, which kind of removes the fog of war from item mode, which was really kind of a conundrum for a lot of these teams because you didn't know exactly the setup that your opponents had in item mode in KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, whether they're going for a wombo combo or they have a lot of Thunderbolts. You never knew what they were bringing to the table, but now if you get a scanner on those 3-star tracks, you can kind of lift the hood a little bit and see what your opposing team is operating with.
For sure, in these pro matches, scanners are going to play a big role, but for me personally, I really love the concept of Siren, how you can just be obnoxious and crash into people, so I really want to see that utilized today.
Yeah, limited time, you crash into your opposing vehicles, they are going to spin out, they're going to lose a lot of momentum, and especially with 22 gears, item mode itself is going to be moving a lot faster than we're used to as well. Keep in mind, that's a lot more gears suspended at points like speed and acceleration. Maybe we'll see something more akin to what Banana was doing in KDL Preseason 2 as well, just really piling on the boost gauge. I think 22 gears coming up from 14 is going to allow a lot more freedom in terms of creativity with these builds coming in.
Yeah, I absolutely love how you can customize so many things in Kart Rider Drift now. And with item mode, as you were mentioning, it's going to be interesting already to see such strong teams like KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX, what their take is on this new meta. Do they want to play with the 3 new items, or do they want to just get rid of it?
Yeah, we noticed before from KDL Preseason 1 to KDL Preseason 2 what kind of shakeup can happen with item mode just getting rebalanced and getting re-kitted. And so it's going to be kind of the same thing here in the regular season, as we should also note the maximum roster size for these teams has expanded from 5 to 6. Now, we still do have some teams like the KWANGDONGFREECS who are running 4-man rosters, but now for some of these 6-man teams, you can start throwing in your coach into the fray too. You know, maybe someone's having a bad day or the coach has a special strategy that he's whipped up on an item mode. You can bring him to the table as well.
Yeah, we have Team Always and Finale being featured because those two are the teams that are currently making use of that 6-man roster. And if we see these teams catapult to great success in the early season, this might be an important strategy to watch out for.
I mean, we've always really appreciated the depth of having a dedicated item ace and a dedicated speed ace, similar to Liiv SANDBOX. As we're going to take a look at the matchups for today. You know, speaking of Liiv SANDBOX, we got somebody kicking off the debut performance here. It's going to be a rematch of the KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2 finals. KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX. 70% of fans at home taking KWANGDONGFREECS there in the favor, but man, what a great way to start off the first regular season of KDL.
That is definitely the highlight of today, but of course, ROX Esports and FINALEe is another interesting matchup that we can't forget, because you got to keep in mind that FINALEe is kind of like the ex-ROX Esports, because a lot of the roster from the previous season of ROX has now reformed in FINALEe, and you can see the fan votes there. Seongnam ROX a bit more favored, and then of course we have a solo match to round things off.
Yeah, solo match right there with a lot of heavy hitters, and a lot of players, or a lot of fans I should say online, are calling this kind of the Liiv SANDBOX Civil War, as we have a ton of different players coming in from Liiv SANDBOX ready to compete. Or you got NEAL, you got Daldda, you got just everybody here. Jimin, who got top 8 in, I think, both KDL preseasons and solo match. All these guys going head-to-head, battling it out, as it should be a really fun one. We got pros, we got rookies coming in, and I think that's really going to be the story here in regular season 1 of the KDL, is these storylines getting created with new faces entering the stage, new teams as well. What storylines are they going to build? Are we going to have a rookie come in and Royal Road the first ever KDL? Is NEAL going to do it? Because let me tell you, those preseasons, they do not go into the record books, but this one certainly is.
It is absolutely the most important solo match we've had so far in KDL of 2023. And you have to keep in mind that previously in Preseason 2, we've had Looning actually become the champion of the solo match, which is almost unheard of, because you would expect a player who's already decorated with so many solo match trophies to win it. But Looning came out of nowhere and shocked us all.
Yeah, so I mean, we might have some upsets here in the regular season, but of course, you know, the stakes, they are higher, and when the stakes get higher, the pressure does as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a lot of these pros show up, like NEAL, who got very close both preseasons to being one of those solo match champions, to actually come through here in the end and wear that crown. I mean, let's not forget that he's a global Royal Roader, and he is a Kartrider League Royal Roader. This guy is one of the GOATs, and to have him being showcased in the solo match in the first day of regular season, plus Liiv SANDBOX versus the KWANGDONGFREECS, it's going to be so much fun.
It is absolutely a banger of a way to start our first day, and we even saw the fans especially excited to see NEAL play today, because the fans predicted, about 70% or more of the fans think NEAL is for sure going to be the one to make it out of the solo match today.
I mean, I absolutely believe it. Of course, with the new rule set, top 3 advancing from that round of 32 into the round of 16, and then 4th and 5th place falling into the redemption match. Even if NEAL isn't completely on his game, I think the worst case scenario you can imagine for a player of his caliber is to go to the redemption match, right? I don't think we're going to see anyone really top-heavy getting eliminated straight away, but who knows? Stranger things have happened.
And you have to wonder about some of the builds. I feel like coming in from Preseason 1 to Preseason 2, there were a lot of adjustments. I feel like in the first season, there was a lot more risk-taking involved, but in Preseason 2, it was more about just focusing on being consistent. But now we're in the official season, and you have to wonder, do we get like a middle ground between that, or what's the answer that our pro players have found?
Yeah, you know, if the meta didn't quite develop, we wouldn't have been able to realize exactly what's coming, but with a new patch, it's going to be pretty crazy. And I think, Peter, finally, I believe we have that video ready for you guys. So let's kick off KDL.
저는 일단 프리시즌 1 우승하고 뽕이 차올랐었어요.
아, 우리 진짜 잘한다.
원작에서는 광동팀이 우승을 한 번도 못한 팀이었는데 이번에 드리프트로 넘어가고 나서 우승을 두 번 연속하는 거 보고 대단하다고 느꼈어요.
상대가 더 잘해서 우승을 한 거고 배운다는 마음으로 하고 있었기 때문에 아쉬운 건 당연하지만 그래도 잘 받아들였던 것 같아요.
다른 팀이 약했던 게 아닌가. 왜 도대체 샌박이 광동을 못 이기나.
프리시즌 우승했다고 벌 주는 것도 아니고 그걸 우승으로 쳐줘도 되나요? 아닌 것 같은데 좀.
제발 우승 한 번이라도 하고 말해줬으면 좋겠습니다. 노전 선수랑 같이 해결한 경기 다 졌어요. 근데 지난 시즌까지예요. 네, 이번 시즌부터 이길 거예요.
그때도 그렇게 말했겠지. 프리시즌 2 때는 달라졌을 거라고. 정규 시즌 때도 똑같지 않을까? 나한테 지는 건.
정현아, 광고 픽하지 마세요. 그날 제가 컨디션 안 좋아요. 상대는 가장 강한 선수 나왔어요. 하지만 다행이에요. 이겼어요.
이제 준 플레이오프에서 이제 센세이션과의 경기를 제가 1대1 할 때 제일 긴장을 했을 때가 그때였어요.
저한테는 안 좋은 기억입니다. 니가 다 해먹어라.
허준이 형 사랑해.
아, 난 고스트 주행이 되게 좋아가지고 저 선수 잘하겠다라고 생각을 했는데
제가 느끼기에는 인수 선수랑 좀 비슷하다고 많이 느껴가지고 열심히 하겠다는 생각만 가지면 더 성장할 수 있을 거라고 생각하고 있습니다.
운으로 이겼다고 생각하시는 분들도 좀 있을 것 같고 한데 월드 선수는 이제 실력으로 이겼다는 걸 알고 계실 것 같아서 좀 준비 많이 하셔야 될 것 같아요.
미래 세조는 진짜 잘한 팀이에요. 스피드 실력이 진짜 잘해요.
호준이 형 하나의 이제 아우라 때문에 그냥 좀 잘해 보인다?
그 센세이션이랑 아우라에서 잘했던 선수들이 뭉친 거니까.
센세이션이 뭐예요? 센세이션은 뭐 맨날 탈락하는 팀이고 일단 미래세조 같은 경우에는 일단 또 프로 팀이니까 센세이션은 이제 모든 분들이 기억에서 잊어버리는 게 좋지 않나.
저는 얼웨이즈 팀의 무우입니다.
저는 너트마이트에서 08년생 최연소를 맡고 있는 막내 김의지 윌이라고 합니다.
얼웨이즈 팀 소속으로 나오게 된 다이아몬드 하서진이라고 합니다.
타이틀 촬영이라고 했었는데 그 중학생 분들이 견학을 왔길래 이게 누구지? 했는데 그 선수들이래요.
하명 선수는 14살?
아마추어 팀들이 락스 정도는 이길 수 있지 않을까? 아마팀이 4팀이 아니라 5팀이고 네. 좀 그런 거?
샌드박스나 프릭스나 그런 팀들은 이제 계속 원작 때부터 합을 맞춰왔으니까
연방할 때 약간 좀 게임이 비슷하게 흘러가기도 했고 한락스 팀까지는 저희가 이겨볼 만한 것 같아요.
얼굴은 모르는데 다이아몬드? 근데 아무리 예선이라도 그렇게 연승을 한다는 거는
다이아몬드가 올레이즈걸? 올레이즈
아마도?
칭찬 같아서 기분이 좋기도 하고 앞으로 본선에서 노준현 선수보다 잘하는 모습 보이도록 노력하겠습니다.
저도 아직 많이 어려서 조언을 해주기 좀 그런데 본선을 뚫으셨으니까 저희랑 함께 재밌는 경기를 만들어 봅시다. 뭐 저희한테는 희소식이죠. 왕년에 좀 그 암흑골머리로 이름을 좀 날렸기 때문에 스크림 하는 과정에서도 돌렸다 하면은 막 3명 돌렸어, 2명 돌렸어, 다 돌렸어 막 이런 콜이 많이 나오거든요.
무조건 사이렌 들고 있는 선수한테 당해야 되는 상황이라서 오히려 조금 아이템전은 사이렌이 변수가 정말 많이 작용이 되고 더 힘들어진 것 같아요.
붙어가는 그림보다는 이제 끊기는 그림이 더 많이 나올 것 같아서 순위 위주로 플레이를 해야 할 것 같습니다.
솔직히 사이렌 돌리는 거는 뭐 자신 있죠. 원작 생각나게 해줄게.
또 원작이 아니잖아요. 저도 좀 활용을 잘 해가지고 딱히 그 경계를 하고 있지는 않습니다.
가드 선수가 사이렌을 그렇게 잘 돌린다는데 제가 한번 당해보겠습니다. 열심히 하세요.
내 최용훈 사이렌은 다르다는 거 보여줄게.
빨간색 자막 딱 나오면서
주행할 때 벽에 박는 일이 별로 없어가지고 생각을 안 해봤긴 했는데 어떻게 생각해요?
팀전 상관없는데 개인전에서 진짜 가장 큰 배치예요. 첫 번째 턴에서 마지막 턴까지 다 짚을 사람이 다 많이 있어요.
벽에 잔실수를 하는 선수들은 좀 더 이득을 본 것 같아요. 물론 저 포함이고요.
저는 어차피 프리시즌 2 때처럼 1등으로만 계속 달릴 거기 때문에 뒤에 사람들이 어떻든 별로 상관없는 것 같아요.
좀 더 라인을 공격적으로 봐도 리스크가 크게 생기지 않아서 제가 개인전이든 팀전이든 다 짚고 날려버릴 거니까 조심하세요.
막는 것도 중요한데 그래도 아직은 달리는 게 더 중요하다고 생각합니다.
언제 달릴 건데?
열심히 계속 응원하고 있지.
오케이. 솔직히 스탑 성공하면 부스 하나 공짜로 줘야 돼.
아, 그건 맞지. 솔직히 1등 3번은 좀 힘들지. 드립. 그러니까 원작이면은 원래 좀 너무 쉬울 것 같긴 한데 워낙 변수도 많고 몸싸움도 변수가 너무 많아서
저만의 연금 메타가 있는데 그게 이제 1등을 연속으로 하면 게임이 끝나버리니까
미드에 있으면 연금 메타도 모으고 그냥 연금 메타를 하다간 제가 보기엔 꼴찌 날 것 같습니다.
1등 잘하는 선수들이 이 그 룰을 한번 보여주지 않을까.
룬이?
난 니엘 아니면 이재혁 딱 이렇게 셋 정도?
그 이 교체가 그 결승전에서도 할 수 있으면 진짜 좋겠어요. 1대1 필요 없으면 좋겠어요. 근데 아니에요. 그래서 좀 슬퍼요.
프리시즌은 말 그대로 예고편이고 정규 시즌이 찐 아닌가요?
무조건 연대 우승 할게요. 그리고 진짜 이기고 싶어요.
모두를 이긴다는 마음으로
이 갈고 올라왔으니까 더 높이 올라갈 수 있도록
팀전, 개인전 둘 다 결승 가서 우승까지 바라보도록 하겠습니다.
정규 시즌은 저희가 첫 별이 되어보도록 하겠습니다.
잘한다고 해서 자만하지 말고 무난하게 우승으로 끝내고 싶습니다.
프로팀들 그리고 아마추어 팀들 그리고 관객 여러분들 이번 시즌 저희 겁니다.
팬분들께 최대한 재밌고 즐거운 경기를 선보일 수 있도록 열심히 준비해 오겠습니다.
Always good to hear from the pro players, and with that, Peter, we are getting ready to start KDL regular season 1.
We are super excited to bring you guys the matchup to begin our day 1. It is going to be the rivalry that's always existed throughout Kart Rider history. KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX, as we see KWANGDONGFREECS take the stage first.
From preseason 1 to preseason 2, KWANGDONGFREECS absolutely had the number of Liiv SANDBOX time and time again. This star-studded roster of World, Cool, Spear, and Sungbin was just firing on all cylinders all the way from the beginning from KDL preseason 1 to the end of KDL preseason 2. And the question that I really have here is, now that it's the regular season, Liiv SANDBOX being one of, if not the most accomplished regular season team in Kart Rider history, are they going to be able to step up right to the occasion? I think if they want to take down the Freaks, it's going to have to start right now.
Liiv SANDBOX is a team that has historically proven to be strong in the official seasons. They have shown up the most out of any team in the original Kart Rider tournaments. And of course now we have the first ever official tournament here in KDL, and today is their moment to prove that they have changed.
The gang is back together. NEAL, Jimin, Youngsu, Hyunsu, and Daldda. Daldda has been so clutch for them as the item ace since joining this roster in KDL preseason 2. And you gotta wonder what he's gonna bring to the table in the new meta that's evolving here in the regular season, with the importance of these 3-star tracks, with these new items, with these new tracks, period.
Absolutely, and of course we have to keep in mind that as you mentioned earlier, State, that KWANGDONGFREECS, they do have still the 4-man lineup, and although they won twice this year, will it hold them back this time?
Yeah, you have to wonder. Depth, we kept thinking in KDL preseason 1 and preseason 2 it might come back to bite them, but it never did. They were back-to-back winners of both preseasons, and now they're just going to try and do it again here. See everybody on stage using the same build, 7-6-9-0. In speed mode right there, saying, oh, that's weird. Didn't we just meet in the opening match because it's the regular season? I gotta say, man, I mean, there isn't a better way to start the regular season here of Kart Rider Drift League. I mean, we had in Season 1 of the preseason, Season 2 of the preseason, these guys met in the finals and they gave us a thrilling show. And now we have two titans of Kart Rider Drift going toe-to-toe to kick off the beginning of the real championship.
This is the perfect way to get all the fans warmed up and ready once again within the universe of Kart Rider Drift. And of course, the opponents of Kwangdong Freaks today, Liiv SANDBOX. You have to keep in mind that it's the first time that Hyunsu leads the team as the captain. So you have to wonder, what is the teamwork going to look like this time?
Gotta think that it's gonna be good. I mean, these guys have been so stellar. They came so close in both preseasons to stopping the machine that is the Kwangdong Freaks, and you gotta think that they're only gonna get better here in the regular season. You see NEAL looking on the main stage to make sure that he's picking up their little, what is it, Powerpuff Girl type emotes right there. Getting it right on stage. As they say, we're with Kwangdong Freaks at both ends of the preseason. So let's start with them here in the regular season with a win.
That would be the perfect way for Liiv SANDBOX to show the fans that actually, yeah, the invincible fleet is back to show us again that they are the kings of official seasons.
But you never know. I mean, there has been quite a big shakeup as we get a look here at the speed track list. Liiv SANDBOX did win the coin toss, and that means they took speed priority. So getting priority here on the picks and the bans as we will go across Shanghai Circuit, Terracotta Twister, Glacier Extreme Stadium, Construction Chaos, and Winding Slope. So a lot of classics here.
Definitely, it is pretty typical for our pro teams to prefer these harder tracks that they've practiced numerously on so far, whereas for the amateur teams, they might focus more on the newer tracks. So for now, we're just focusing on the classics.
And I gotta say, for most of the preseason, both preseason 1 and preseason 2, it felt like Kwangdong Freaks, if they had any weakness, any hole in their armor, it was in item mode, not in speed mode. In speed mode, they felt unstoppable. So I'm very curious to see how this Liiv SANDBOX roster is going to line up against the Freaks. I mean, I think we're getting ready to get right into it and get the answer to that question, Peter, as we're going to track number 1 here of the KDL regular season. It is Shanghai Circuit.
We speed off into speed round 1 in our first ever showing of the Shanghai Circuit here in KDL, as we see Cool Sungbin World pretty dominant in the front field.
Yeah, Kwangdong Freaks off to a fantastic start, but Hyunsu right on their tails. New captain right now, but we'll see what he's able to bring to the table, taking that tight inner line, able to pass World. And now I do want to point this out before the action gets too heated. If you look at the bottom left of your screen, not only do you have the player cams here at the KDL regular season, but you get to see the players' heartbeats as they're competing on stage. I absolutely love that. You see Sungbin right now a little bit higher there than Hyunsu at 100, but Hyunsu still in hot pursuit, trying to make his way around that corner.
And so far, it seems like Liiv SANDBOX, they do have a pretty strong midfield, so they do have plenty of opportunity to break apart the 1-2 combo of Kwangdong Freaks. Byung-Soo is doing a great job holding 2 members in the back.
Yeah, Byung-Soo is doing a fantastic job sweeping there on the back, but are they going to be able to pass World? Right now, Liiv SANDBOX are in a commanding position, but oh man, Sungbin taking a really nice line there, almost unseated Hyunsu from that rank 2 spot.
Oh my goodness, it looks like Kwangdong Freaks, they got control over midfield once again. And with Hyunsu, his role right now is to get first place and try to buy time. Jimin is all the way back in 8th.
Yeah, I mean, if Hyunsu's able to work his way into first place, then Liiv SANDBOX will have a chance here in the opening track of this speed set, but it doesn't seem like World and Sungbin are giving him any room to maneuver. It's a 2v1 right now in first place, and Kwangdong Freaks are dominating it. At this point, you gotta think, even if Hyunsu's able to work his way into first, he might not win.
It looks like Kwangdong Freaks is just gonna take this one all the way into the finish line. World and Sungbin with the 1-2 duo finishing off speed round 1.
Man, what a statement here for the Kwangdong Freaks. You know, historically, they're a team that has struggled in the official regular seasons of Kart Rider going back to the original game. But here they are, opening map against who is probably going to be their toughest opponent of the entire season. Their arch nemesis, and they're winning track number 1 against Liiv SANDBOX.
I feel like this was such a strong showing from Kwangdong Freaks on an important track like the WKC Shanghai Circuit, because this is one of the newer tracks that our teams have had to readjust to, and to show that they are still good even in these new tracks, it really makes it seem like Kwangdong Freaks, this is a team that's so hard to beat in speed.
Even coming into this one, World said in an interview that Shanghai Circuit is the #1 track that he is practicing. Not because he thinks that it's hard or because it's new, but just because it's so much fun.
Oh, yeah?
That's what he said, man. But I gotta say, looking at the performance right there, you can see the translation of that success from practice absolutely coming through. Freaks looking really commanding to kick this one off as we're gonna move on to track number 2. I believe it is Terracotta Twister, if I'm not mistaken. Something that Liiv SANDBOX historically has done a little bit better on, but let's keep in mind, they had pick priority. This is KWANGDONGFREECS pick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that now we're moving on to the second track, which is picked by KWANGDONGFREECS. So Liiv SANDBOX, they have a lot to prove. They're down 0-1 as we enter track number 2, World Tour Terracotta Twister.
And here we go on Terracotta Twister. KWANGDONGFREECS winning this best of 5, 5-0, but Liiv SANDBOX off to a great start. You see Hyunsu right there pulling ahead of the pack. Byung-Soo, formerly known as Speed, right behind him. Oh, I love him cutting off World right there, although World is able to fight back here on this straight edge.
World is absolutely a key player for KWANGDONGFREECS. He's been constantly running for first, and if Liiv SANDBOX can prevent that from him, especially controlling the midfield, that is what Liiv SANDBOX needs.
And you can feel these gears really coming through as one player got caught right there on the corner. Now coming into this inner portion, World still holding on to first place. We'll see if Liiv SANDBOX decides to take some tight inner angles to see if they can contest that position, but so far seems like everyone playing a little bit conservative here. Not too many risks taken. Liiv SANDBOX, they know they're in a good position with NEAL and Hyunsu so close to the front. They just got to close the distance.
Yeah, right now Liiv SANDBOX, they did fortunately recover from the attempt of blocking from Cool, so they're able to still have that 2-3-4, but keep in mind, Hyunsu being locked in 8th is very concerning because Cool, he can easily recover back to the top 3.
Yeah, Hyunsu either has to work his way up from 8th place or Liiv SANDBOX has to nail down positions 2, 3, 4 to come through the win here on the second lap, but KWANGDONGFREECS, although the start was a little bit scary here in track number 2, they're looking to consolidate this one with a win.
It seems right now that KWANGDONGFREECS, they have complete control over midfield here, so NEAL and Jimin, they have to kind of secure the 1-2. It's their only win condition, but this is the tricky part.
And World doing such a good job there with the inner lines. Oh, even colliding right there. Oh, World, watch out. Actually,
NEAL.
Jimin gets knocked off the track, so NEAL's going to be in first place. And you might think that's good here for Liiv SANDBOX, but KWANGDONGFREECS is locking down the 2-3-4. That is a win condition here in track number 2 with only 200 meters left to go. Unless Hyunsu can somehow close the distance. No, it's going to be the KWANGDONGFREECS going up 2-0 here in track number 2.
I loved the attempt from NEAL bouncing off the wall, and he tried to collide into KWANGDONGFREECS there, but unfortunately it was Jimin who fell off the track, and at that point the 1-2 win condition for Liiv SANDBOX was long gone, and KWANGDONGFREECS, they're having such a dominating form today in speed.
I gotta say, they are not missing a beat. The carts are faster, we got more gear going up into that heroic tier, and I'm imagining a lot of records are going to be set as we continue on in the regular season here of KDL. These carts so much faster, everything on the line, even those collisions not manifesting into hits on your nitro meter anymore. That boost gauge just keeps going up and up and up, and you could really see the speed translating because it feels like everything's in overdrive right now here in speed mode, and for a team as mechanically skilled as the KWANGDONGFREECS, that absolutely plays in their hands. Now up 2-0 here against Liiv SANDBOX.
KWANGDONGFREECS is one match away from winning speed, but keep in mind that this third track is picked by Liiv SANDBOX themselves as we get ready to enter the Glacier Extreme Stadium. We begin our speed round 3. This is match point here for KWANGDONGFREECS. Liiv SANDBOX needs to come back this time around.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX needs a reverse sweep right now to stay in contention here in speed mode. Hyunsu off to a great start. I feel like he's been the anchor for this team right from the gates every single track as he's battling against Sungmin right now to try to retain that #1 spot. But once again, KWANGDONGFREECS with this excellent midfield, holding on to positions 2, 3, and 4. Cool not very far down there in 6th place, and Sungmin even vying for position 1.
But I do like that Hyunsu is holding first pretty firmly right now against Sungbin, because NEAL is a player that can definitely catch up, and the 1-2 is looking like the most likely win condition for Liiv SANDBOX.
I like that, how it's shaping up, but one of the problems, Hyunsu has a little bit of a collision there. Luckily for him, I think that was Spear who got caught there for the KWANGDONG So that's going to give a little bit more breathing room here to our Liiv SANDBOX players, as it seems those positions 1 and position 2, very important. But World right here on this straightaway, a big boost is going to allow him to supplant NEAL for a moment, but NEAL fighting back.
Yeah, NEAL absolutely fought back there, had some great body checks against World, but once again, World is a player that has great recovery. Sungbin, he needs the support, because if NEAL takes over first place, you can't afford to give over that 1-2 right now.
And Liiv SANDBOX, they've done a great job of solidifying their midfield here in this one. They want to contest that 1-2 because it does seem to be the win condition here for the KWANGDONGFREECS, but it's so close as we get ready to come into these final hairpin turns. Is Liiv SANDBOX going to be able to pass World and Sungbin?
Oh, Hyunsu did a nice attempt there to try to throw World off his line, and now second place being held by Hyunsu. Liiv SANDBOX is doing great right now.
Oh man, what a fantastic turn of events here for Liiv SANDBOX, as one of the KWANGDONGFREECS players just falls all the way behind, and now with a 1-3-4 finish, it seems Liiv SANDBOX is going to live to fight another day here in speed mode, going 2-1 here.
Man, that was an extremely close one all the way down till the end, but the focus from Liiv SANDBOX won out in the end. They were able to kick back the midfield from KWANGDONGFREECS and take complete control, which is what we want to see, because we don't want the speed mode to be 3-0'd in such an exciting matchup like this.
I mean, the more tracks that we get between two teams like this one on stage, the better it is for us, the better it is for the fans, although the pro gamers might not like it quite as much. You know they're hoping for that 3-0 victory, the KWANGDONGFREECS, I mean, but Liiv SANDBOX absolutely coming through. Hyunsu, I gotta say, for me right now from Liiv SANDBOX, absolutely the MVP here in the first 3 tracks of speed, as it feels like every single race he is right out of the gates, leading the charge there for Liiv SANDBOX, leading the fleet, and even getting first place there. And that last track, it's looking really good for LSB. I would love to see them force to map number 5.
We love to see the captain coming out to perform. Of course, Hyunsu has had a bit of experience being the captain in the previous preseason, but this is the official season where it all matters, so the pressure has to be on a completely different level.
All right, Peter, let's get ready to go to track number 4. Still match point here for KWANGDONGFREECS. Liiv SANDBOX fighting to force a map number 5 on Desert Construction Chaos. And here we go in speed round 4. KWANGDONGFREECS leading 2-1 here over Liiv SANDBOX on one of the more technical tracks that we have in this pool. And once again, LSB off to a really good start. You can see Spear bolting ahead, but look at the pack right behind him. 3 different LSB players.
Keep in mind that KWANGDONGFREECS did choose this track, so I am expecting to see some heavy recoveries from them, given that this is a track that they are heavily versed in. So far, however, NEAL and Byungsu, they're having a pretty significant distance from the 3rd place.
Yeah, NEAL and Byungsu doing a great job right now of locking up these top 2 positions, and it can be so important here on Construction Chaos to have a 2v1 setup like this, because you can establish these body checks. It's so hard to pass on these 90-degree turns if your opponents have really good sweeping, but Spear was somehow able to get past NEAL.
Absolutely. NEAL right now once again trying to block out Spear. He does bonk him back, but now it's World to come into 2nd place. NEAL has a lot on his hands right now.
Yeah, it seems like he's mostly focused on sweeping and giving Byungsu as much space as possible, and to his credit, he's accomplished that. That's a couple of fractions of a second that Byungsu has in terms of a lead. Yeah, almost half a second, in fact, between Byungsu and 2nd place. So Liiv SANDBOX, it seems like they've locked down, at least for now, position number 1, and they can look at just solidifying the midfield to win behind it.
Yeah, and it seems Spear is trying all he can, while you can see NEAL trying to be as pesky as possible. So what Spear and World needs to do is they need to take turns trying to look for the opening for NEAL. They need to get past him somehow, but it's not looking possible right now.
I mean, NEAL is one of the best runners in the world. On many teams, he would be a speed ace, but here he is playing the role of a sweeper quite perfectly. He just seems to be this indomitable wall that World and Spear, and even Sungbin behind him, cannot supplant. And as a result of that, he's now just starting to run away with this one with Byungsu, and LSB, they might be looking at a 1-2 victory here.
Absolutely, World. He needs to do all he can to break apart this 1-2. That's the one job that he has, but you look at the distance, it's not within the drafting range, and it seems like NEAL and Byung-Soo are going to take this one all the way to the finish line in a 1-2 fashion.
And it was the only win condition there for Liiv SANDBOX as well, with Hyunsoo and Jimin all the way down in position 7 and 8. They had to lock down that top 2, and so NEAL coming through absolutely in the clutch there on Construction Chaos. You know, if he makes one mistake and allows those racers from KWANGDONGFREECS to pass him, suddenly we're looking at a 3-1 victory for KDF. But instead, Liiv SANDBOX, through NEAL's sheer tenacity, just not breaking under the pressure, are going to be able to force a map number 5.
And how the atmospheres have changed, State. At first, it felt like KWANGDONGFREECS were just so dominant here in speed, but now we are tied 2-2. One final match to determine who will win speed. This is going to be an important one, and you have to keep in mind that Liiv SANDBOX chose track number 5.
That's right. They do have a speed priority here, having won that coin toss. They put 2 points on the board. They would love to get the victory, as we have a replay here of NEAL just really playing this so perfectly. You can see Spear a little bit too tight in on that angle, and from that moment on, NEAL just never let off on the pressure. From that moment, NEAL was locked in at number 2 all the way through to the finish line, and that was a key part of Liiv SANDBOX's success. And so now we're gonna get ready to go to Mind-Winding Slopes, Peter, and I'm wondering who's gonna take this one, as these two heavyweight teams are going toe-to-toe, going the distance here in speed mode. Track number 5 on Winding Slopes will decide it, who's gonna win on speed.
We go off into the one final match to determine the victor of speed between KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. Here we are in Winding Slopes, and it looks like it's pretty balanced so far.
Yeah, pretty balanced spread. Spear right now in first place, but Jimin and Byung-Soo right behind him, and NEAL, we know how good he is at running from these lower ranked positions. I would not be surprised to see him start passing players left and right, especially on a challenging track such as Mind-Winding Slopes. And keep in mind, this is just a one-lapper. Any mistake that you make on this one is going to be even more punishing than on a longer track. So the pressure's on all these racers right now, and some big positions changing hands. Still Spear able to hold on to first place. Jimin trying to find the tight inner line to pass him, but KWANGDONGFREECS have really solidified at the top of the ranks.
Keep in mind, Liiv SANDBOX, they are really struggling right now in the back. You can see NEAL, he is so far behind.
And Jimin right there with a collision on the pillar.
Another one.
No, and that one also blocked him into Hyunsoo. So right now the 1-2-3 finish might be viable here for the KWANGDONGFREECS. Some uncharacteristic missteps here from Team Liiv SANDBOX coming through those tunnels. They're gonna try some very fancy spin turns to see if they can close the distance, but it might not be enough.
It's looking like it so far, State. KWANGDONGFREECS, they have an absolute firm control on this 1-2, and Spear and Sungbin, they deliver without a mistake on that cliff jump. And ladies and gentlemen, it is KWANGDONGFREECS who wins round number 5 and takes that victory in speed.
Man, that one went absolutely down to the wire, though. It was looking like it was going to be a commanding victory for the KWANGDONGFREECS after just 2 tracks, but Liiv SANDBOX fighting back, forcing that map number 5. Maybe if some of those turns go a little bit differently there on that one lapper, they're able to come through with a reverse sweep and deliver the win, but instead it's going to be KDF, Spear, and Sungbin delivering a 1-2 finish, getting that win for the KWANGDONGFREECS.
It felt like once Liiv SANDBOX lost control over midfield, there was simply no support, and meaning that the players at the front, they couldn't make any mistakes, and it's so hard to not make a mistake on a track like the Winding Slopes. Even pro players, they struggle to play it out perfectly each time.
Especially if you're behind, because when you're behind, that means you have to take riskier lines than you otherwise might, and that's resulted in Jimin, you know, hitting a pillar, hitting the corner of a post, and colliding with one of his teammates because he's just trying to do every possible thing he can to close the distance, to take the path of least travel to catch up to positions 1 and 2. But if you don't execute that absolutely perfectly, it comes back to bite you. And you know, to KWANGDONGFREECS' credit, that's not even really an unforced error there for Team Liiv SANDBOX. It's because of the pressure that KDF was able to deliver.
Yeah, and of course now we are moving on into the item mode. So we have the item A's coming in for Liiv SANDBOX. Daldda is going to replace NEAL on the side of KWANGDONGFREECS. There's no speed A's. They run on a 4-man roster, so they're just going to stay as is.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX, they have been so clutch here with Daldda joining the team as the item ace. As we look here at the track list, we're going to be going to Mine Magma Cavern first. And then, ooh, we got 2 spooky maps. I'm so glad Liiv SANDBOX picked these ones. We're going to be going to Graveyard Cemetery Circuit for track number 2. Track number 3, Forest Misty Falls. And then should we go to a track number 4, we got another Graveyard map, Dark Castle, before rounding things off at World Tour London Night. And, you know, thinking back to KDL Preseason 2, KWANGDONGFREECS, they were a little bit complacent, it felt. After their championship victory in KDL Preseason 1, they were a little bit more shaky. They even struggled to get some amateur teams, especially in item mode. And Liiv SANDBOX, historically so far here in the KDL, in the preseasons, they've excelled in item. So I'm thinking that there's a very good chance that Liiv SANDBOX, despite not having item mode priority, might still be able to pull out 3 wins, force an ace match.
That would definitely be super exciting for all of us here, including the fans. We always love to see a match decided by an ace match, especially from a team like KWANGDONGFREECS, who has World. He's been such a decorated ace match player so far here in KDL that you're excited to see him potentially compete today against the likes of Liiv SANDBOX. They also have so many players that can play that ace match.
Yeah, but World, I mean, is in a class of his own when it comes to ace matches, should we get there. Over the KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, he went 7-1 for a near 90% win rate in the toughest situations imaginable. I mean, 1v1s with everything on the line, World continuously delivered. So even if Liiv SANDBOX is able to come through and deliver 3 wins, secure item mode, and force that ace match, it's still going to be a journey. But that journey is going to have to start right now. This first map here in item mode, let's go to Mine Magma Cavern. And the race begins on Mine Magma Cavern, and I want to point out here, by the way, this is one of the 3 difficulty star item maps, which means we are going to have items like Daldda just picked up, the Siren there. You blast that thing the same way that Cool has. You blast that, you collide with another racer on an opposing team, they are burning out.
And it's interesting to note that it does seem like Sungbin might have had a disconnect, so we will check up on that in a moment. But it's really interesting to see how the Siren, it seems to be getting held by most of the players rather than used early on. So they're prioritizing it as a very good item to keep for more crucial moments.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to pop that right when you're in a position to get a lot of collisions off on opposing players, right? You just get maximum value. If you pop it and you maybe only hit 1 guy, that's not too much value, but it is a lot of fun to see these new items getting mixed up into the item mode. As you said, Sungbin, with that disconnect, we will probably have a regame, I think, here for track number 1. But man, we are going to be in for a treat as this new patch is just shaping up to be so good. And also, one thing I want to notice, I think we have to wait until we get a vision of a player holding onto a water balloon, but at least when you're playing the game, I believe also in the observing client, if you have that water balloon in your grasp, you can see on the mini-map where it would be projected to land should you throw it at that moment, which is a really nice quality of life thing that we got here added in the new season. Is going to cut that one short a little bit early there. Of course, Sungbin with that disconnect means that we will have to resolve whatever computer issue that he has and go into the rematch. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And, luckily that happened right at the beginning of the track, so not too much time lost. No secret strategies unveiled.
Yeah, it definitely didn't kill any hype moments there because the item modes, they do tend to be a bit more lax in the beginning portion of the race, and we do have the rematch now confirmed, so we will re-enter this track number 1 here in Mine Magma Cavern. And I must say, from what we got a little taste of, an appetizer into the item match here today's state, it feels like there's no longer such an emphasis on Lightning, Magnets, and Angels as we have seen in the previous preseasons.
I think Lightning is always going to be good, as is Angel. I think those are always going to be top-tier items, but as you said, before, oftentimes in KDL Preseason 2, thinking back on the tracks that we watched, the matches that were played, oftentimes you would see individual players, if they were lucky enough, they would hold on to double Angel, or they would hold on to double Lightning, and now I'm wondering, are you going to try to be more active with those items so that you can cycle through the big banana, through the scanner, through the Siren, and try to find more value that way? Because as far as these pro gamers are concerned, every single moment that they're in the game, they're just trying to figure out, how do I get the most possible value out of my item set? Out of the build that I got, out of the tools at my disposal, what can I do to help my team succeed? Because in item mode, it's all about who crosses that finish line first, right? So you want to set up for that combination. And as you said, maybe that means a little bit less emphasis on Thunderbolts, a little bit less emphasis on Angel Shields, even though there's still very good items, and more focus on something like the Siren.
Yeah, in the players' interviews, they mentioned definitely how Siren is looking to be such a hectic item in the item mode right now, where there's so much focus on that item being picked up. You have to watch out because that player is going to completely control the field for that short duration of time. And also, items like the scanner, it is important to keep track of whether that first player has an EMP wave or not, because if they don't, you can signal that to your team and be like, hey guys, we need a UFO ASAP, because that will give us that advantage.
Yeah, scanner is going to be a very big game changer. I think one of the most undersold or maybe unexpected changes coming into this one is, you know, if you're playing a random lobby, you know, not playing with friends, the scanner, maybe it's not too valuable if you're just doing like a ranked match at home or doing a Grand Prix or just something for fun, right? But then you go into this pro mode where there is so much conscious thought about how best to approach every individual map, and even within the map, just the match that you're playing itself, you know, what items do we think that they have? There's a bit of a poker game that's been played over KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, but now that you have the scanner, as we said before, you can kind of lift that veil. You can look behind the curtain and see exactly what the other team is operating with, and maybe that leads to you changing your game plan. Maybe you see, oh, there's no Angel Shield or anything. Let's pop a Lightning Bolt right now. Let's go for a Siren right now. Let's try and get some damage before they get those big defensive items.
Absolutely. It's such a crucial way to play out these pro matches here, where the level of communication is on a completely different level. And for me personally, I do wonder though how big the big banana is going to be, because I tried playing the item mode, but I couldn't see any games where that was utilized. So it usually was in the preseasons that the normal banana, the pro players have maneuvered around with ease. They have no problem dodging that at all, but a big one, you have to wonder, is it even possible to dodge it?
A big banana. I can't wait to see it, man. We didn't get any big bananas coming through, so I think the proc chance is a little bit lower than perhaps the other items, but that could also be a game changer. You get a big banana, and then, you know, I'm sure these pro players are going to know exactly the angle behind their cart, where if you're there, you simply cannot dodge it, right? So might see a little bit more setup there. We'll see exactly how that one goes.
Wow, it was like a little crossover between Lego and Kart Rider.
That was
like
cute.
That. Yeah, we have so many talented fans in the crowd today, all showing off their cheerfuls in a moment like this. When you have a tech pause, that is the upside. You can take a look at what the fans have brought to cheer their favorite players with.
Yeah, we're still waiting for everybody to join the lobby, so there is a technical issue on KWANGDONGFREECS side that they're trying to resolve. I'm sure the admin team is on it. We'll be getting it squared away as soon as possible, but yeah, it really is exciting to get a shakeup like this in item mode. I mean, item mode from KDL Preseason 1 to KDL Preseason 2, it got so much better with the meta shifting, with the rebalancing of the items that happened in those patches, and now coming into KDL Preseason 3, or not Preseason 3, excuse me, the regular season. I just want to keep counting up. It feels like it's going to be absolutely superb. I cannot wait to get into the action and see how these pro players, especially Banana, who on Desperado, he's not playing today. I mean, he's one of the best item aces in the business, right? So I would love to see what he cooks up. I'm sure Banana himself is going to love the big banana.
That was actually mentioned.
It's going to be his specialty.
Yeah, even the producers were kind of getting in on that meme, like, oh, Banana's a player that's got to be the best at utilizing the big banana, right?
I mean, he is a big banana himself. He's a large guy. He's strong, built like an ox. I would not be surprised to see him come in with that big banana, flex his muscles a little bit, take these other gamers down, as it seems like we're still trying to get this issue resolved.
Yeah, our player on the screen right now is Sungbin, and Sungbin is the player that has had the disconnect, and you can see him kind of just shaking his head. But he did put on the headset, and it seems like he's in the lobby now, so we should be getting back soon.
Yeah, should be getting back into Mind Magma Cavern in just a moment. Just got to confirm that all the players are ready, and hopefully the tech issue is resolved and we can proceed, because, man, it's going to be so much fun to see how these players use all these new items on this 3-star difficulty track. Let's run it back, Peter. Let's go back to Mind Magma Cavern for item 1, or map number 1 of item mode. All right. I think the issue might not yet be resolved.
Yeah, we saw that on our screen, so we can kind of see the lobby on our own screens. And Sungbin, once again, he failed to load into the game.
Yeah, his progress bar got about halfway done, and then it stalled out. So it seems like it's probably some kind of issue with his PC. I mean, I'm not much of an IT guy myself, but, you know, going from any season and then taking an off season and then coming back and playing again, like the gap from KDL preseason 2 and then going into the regular season 1, there's always a little bit of a shakeup. You know, it takes a little while to get everything firing on all cylinders again, but hopefully this will get sorted very quickly. I think the admin team, the tech team, is going to try to just, you know, recreate the lobby, re-invite everybody, make sure Sungbin is good to go, and hopefully we'll load it in this next one.
Yeah, and from what we've seen, all the other players from both teams have loaded in with no problem at all. So I feel like creating this new lobby will most likely fix the problem for Sungbin, and we'll be able to get back to our first match of Item, because it feels to me that whenever you have tech problems, you just need to restart, and that fixes your problems at least half the time.
Spoken like a true IT consultant right there. You try turning it off and on again. It's the tried and true method of gamers and people around the world. But I do suspect that it was probably just some kind of PC problem, because the game client, at least when I'm playing it, it runs like butter, man. It is smooth as smooth can be. Really a lot of fun, as we see now on our little monitors. Everybody joining back up into the lobby. So fingers crossed that we're able to get into Mind Magma Cavern this time. I think maybe these new items are just a little bit too hype. The game can't handle it. This PC, it's overheating, man. It's all that magma getting in. The lava CPU is just at like 500 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, even our esports PCs cannot handle the file format of the big banana. It creates problems, man. It's too big.
It's like, what was that thing called? It's like a zip file that contains like a zip file that contains a zip file, and if you try unpacking it, it's like a petabyte or something. That's the big banana, man. That thing's gigantic. Just consumes the world. The banana that was foretold. But all jokes aside, Sungbin back into the lobby. Players seem like they're ready to go. You know what they say, Peter, third time is the charm.
That is definitely a saying that we've heard many times, and it does usually turn out to be true. So it seems now we will be trying for the third time to re-enter Mind Magma Cavern here as we kick off our item mode with this round 1. We're back.
I think this has to be some kind of computer issue here for Sungbin, and I feel a little bit for the pros on stage, because you know that the adrenaline's pumping right now. You just finished speed mode for Liiv SANDBOX. They're right on the edge. They have to win 3 tracks to force an ace. And then you get delayed and delayed and delayed, and the anticipation that must be building for these guys on stage has got to be through the roof right now. Is I guarantee they just want a game, but there is some issue with Sungbin's PC. We might have to actually swap out his desktop computer for another one. This has happened in the past in one of the KDL preseasons. It's pretty quick, you know? It's like watching those videos of like professional racing teams like IRL when they change the tires and or retread them or whatever when the rain starts falling. The pit crews that come in. We got the same kind of guys here at the KDL. They are speedy when they switch these PCs. So hopefully that switch will be enough for Sungbin to get back into this lobby, as everybody else has succeeded in loading in. It's just every single time we load it up, Sungbin is getting hung at like, I want to say 50, 60%.
That's the positive thing. If it's only Sungbin having problems, it's not a problem on the internet side or anything like that. So if we swap out the PC, it will most likely solve any issues from re-happening here in the item mode. In speed mode, at least Sungbin, you know, he was having no problems at all. So if we just swap this PC, it will likely be really smooth once again.
I imagine it's just some kind of PC issue.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes this can happen when you have spaces between seasons is usually day 1, day 2. They're oftentimes the rockiest just because you haven't gone through all of the paces of playing the game again. You know, one of those PCs, maybe it downloaded some update over the past couple of months. I mean, I'm not an IT guy. I don't know exactly how these things work, but maybe that broke something in the PC, and it's only coming to light here in the item mode. But once Sungmin gets that new PC set up, we should be ready to go.
And man, just looking at World on the screen, it is, or not World, sorry, I mean to say Cool on the screen. It is always a pleasure to watch him play because Cool has such a play style where you feel like he's always going to recover and come back to the top no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And when he doesn't do that, it's usually on purpose because Cool is playing a sweeping role or something. This is why the roster of Kwangdong Freeks works out, because each player that you look at from the side of Kwangdong Freeks, they're all such decorated players, considered to be one of the best, if not the best, from the original Kart Rider League. And now, the question for them is, can they finally secure a season victory in the official season here?
I can't imagine a 4-man roster that would be as packed as the Kwangdong Freeks are. Oftentimes, even in previous KDLs, not just with you, but with William and with Wolf, we would talk about the benefits, the supposed benefits of having a deeper roster with an item ace and a speed ace. And one guy like NEAL, who specializes in just going fast, and then somebody that specializes in item mode, like maybe a Banana that you have on your team. But Kwangdong Freeks is really able to do it all from top to bottom, and Cool, a critical part of that success. And since we have a little bit of downtime just revisiting the kart ride builds, it's a little bit different compared to what we had there in speed mode. Now in speed mode, everybody, with the exception of Youngsu, was running with a 7.690. Youngsu operated on a 7.591. But moving on here to item mode, it's quite different. We have World and the Kwangdong Freeks going with a 9.085, so 13 points in total there in the boost, 9 in speed. You have Cool with 5 in speed, 17 in the boost, and then you go into guys like Spear and Sungmin there on the Freeks. Spear 9.274, Sungmin 8.284, a little bit more widespread, and so you kind of have to wonder about whether these racers are going to start to try and play more specific roles with the gears that they have. Because we did see this time and time again in KDL Preseason 1 and KDL Preseason 2, where certain racers, especially Banana comes to mind, and I know we keep harping on him as an item ace, but he is one of the best item aces in the business. Very creative, very smart fellow. You would see him play and he would put almost no points at his speed. He would just go full boost. He would try to get like a double nitro or a nitro magnet combo to come through with a Hail Mary play at the end of the track. But now that everyone has more gears to play with a heroic tier of carts, I feel like that creativity might get a little bit different. There was another team, and at least one player, I can't remember who it was in KDL Preseason 2, but they went the complete opposite of what Banana was doing that I'm describing. They put all of their points into speed and acceleration, and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to boost. I'm not really going to play for the nitro. I'm not going to play for the magnet. I'm going to go fast. My teammates are going to try to cycle through attacks to their best of their ability, and I will just go so far away that no one can touch me. And that worked multiple times over the course of the season. And you know, considering that we have, what, like 8 more gears or something, now that we've gone up in tiers, I feel like there's a little bit more room for creativity. And so I'm wondering exactly how these builds are going to play out, how it's going to factor into the strategies that these teams are bringing to the table. Because I guarantee you that the kart builds that we have right here on day 1 between the Freeks and Liiv SANDBOX, this is something that I would expect to evolve over the course of the 2-month regular season.
And it already has also in the selection of the kart bodies, because in speed, it feels like Hover Shark and Bursts are kind of like a must-have alongside Octo Roller and Eclipse Alphas. We've had so many new kart bodies added, but our pro players and the teams have already figured out which ones are kind of just best for the meta currently. But for the item, you have to keep in mind that pretty much you just pick what car you like. Doesn't seem to matter that much. Whatever you're used to, you just drive it. And that's one of the benefits of item mode, where it's a lot more casual, and you can kind of just like play around with these customizations that the game really offers.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Although I feel like the strategy that comes into this is going to be a little bit more nuanced, I would think, especially as the season evolves. And we have so many different kart bodies now in Kart Rider Drift, as the content just keeps coming along.
Yep.
No, there is no shortage of new content in this game. As just really quickly to update you guys on our monitors, we were able to see that, you know, the admins, they replaced the PC there. and they went through just one quick launch, one quick test run. Everyone was able to successfully load into the lobby, and so I'm thinking that very soon we'll be able to get this thing going underway. It seems like the issue's resolved. The admins are just making sure that everything is absolutely spick and span, nice and clean and ready to go. But the action should resume momentarily. Thank you so much for sticking with us, because I know you would love to see a continuation of Kart Rider action just as much as we would.
Yeah, we also want to see the item matches coming and flowing, especially in the big rivalry matchup between KWANGDONG FREECS.
I'm just so curious about how the meta is going to shape up here in item mode. And we got like a little bit of a teaser. We got a little bit of a teaser. There is a disconnect. Just had that one little teaser, and then we weren't able to play much more.
Yep.
And so now I'm just wondering, I mean, we had, what, I think it was 2 sirens or 3 sirens that popped very early there. So we're going to get a chance to look at the different proc gens, the different way these players are going to be using these new items, such as the big banana, the scanner, and the siren. I just cannot wait to get into the action.
And we just had a second test, getting everyone loaded into the item matches, and it seems like it went swimmingly without a single problem for any of the players, especially for Sungbin. It seems like his connection is more secure now, as now we just make sure to check up on NEAL here and figure out if there's any problems over there. Might be a good opportunity to just check up on all the players, make sure that we won't have any more pauses.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we would all just love to keep this action rolling on, but it does seem like Sungbin's issues, for the most part, have been resolved. That new PC swap absolutely did it. And so I think very soon we're going to be ready to go into the game, as the lobby is getting created. Players, headsets on, hands on the keyboards, getting ready to rumble here as item mode is going to continue on. Track number 1 here in item mode between the KWANGDONG FREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. We return again to Mind Magma Cavern. Let's get into this thing. And at last, a weight is off our shoulders as the action can commence. And look at that, Byungsu immediately picking up a siren. Daldda immediately popping a magnet. Action is picking up so quickly. Look at that, Byungsu just immediately goes for it, man. He did not wait a moment to hold on to that thing. He just popped it.
Yeah, Byungsu didn't want to give World a chance to get up in the positions, because the players mentioned that now it feels like the item mode meta is more shifted around actually maintaining a positional advantage throughout the big portion of the race, and that's what Liiv SANDBOX is doing right now. Daldda, he gets targeted by too many items, however.
Angel Shield does pop, and man, I gotta say, the feel of Pro Match item mode is definitely different. Look at how fast these racers are spinning across the track, and a lot of that is just because you have so many more gears to play with. It's now a high-octane race, as Jimin's gonna try and close the distance. I love that magnet usage. Sungbin also getting sucked up there by the EMP, but attack coming in on Jimin. He will spin out twice, in fact, as KWANGDONG FREECS World Spear and Sungbin consolidating the top of the ranks, but here comes Daldda fighting back.
Yeah, the sirens are absolutely effective here in the front field. Daldda is able to secure his first place off of that. A shield comes in at a nice timing, but that barricade and water bomb is too big to avoid.
Barricade water bomb coming in really clutch, especially on these narrow passageways. Unfortunately for World, he was able to skirt past that one, not connecting with that water balloon, as we're now entering the final lap.
World, he's got double shield right now, so he's looking pretty secure, if I may say so. Jimin, he can afford to catch up with the booster, but there's no catch-up available on the side of Liiv SANDBOX.
I think World actually just popped his shield to get through that water balloon. That was sick timing if that's what happened. Either did that or he just missed it. So World's still able to retain his #1 position. 400 meters left to go, but the UFO is going to catch him up, and will Jimin be able to use that as an opportunity? He pops the nitrous. He has his shield ready to go. Angel Shield popping for Liiv SANDBOX, and Hyunsu just blasts through the water balloon. And man, I gotta say, item mode is so much faster now with this new rule set, with these new items, with these new gears. It's a new era for item mode here in KDL, and I could not be happier. That was intense from start to finish.
The biggest giveaway there was that a magnet was popped as soon as it was gotten. And it's not like the distance between the first place and second place was just super huge. They were pretty close, but it was all about the pacing here. And we can see that new meta of item mode coming in. And personally, State, I do really like this version of item mode that we're seeing here today.
Oh, I love it. It's so quick. It is so fast. I mean, thinking back to KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, we would have what feels like 15, 30, 45 seconds of players just slowly working through the track, lap after lap after lap, trying to pick up Angel Shields, trying to pick up Thunderbolts, and it was a little bit of a chess game that was going on, but the action is just so fast, so intense here in the new item mode as we kick off the KDL regular season. We're already ready to go to track number 2. Let's go to Graveyard Cemetery Circuit.
We get our first look at Graveyard Cemetery Circuit here in KDL, here in the official season, and this is looking to be a 3-lapper track, so we are in for a long one.
Yeah, it is a 3-lapper track. Another 3-star as well, so those sirens absolutely can come into the play. Big Banana as well, although I don't think we got a chance to look at that there in track number 1, although the racers sped by so fast. I might have missed it, but for now, KWANGDONG cool in a very good position. Daldda once again right behind him. He's been so clutch for Liiv SANDBOX here in item mode.
Yeah, and he's holding on to an Angel, which is a nice inventory right now. KWANGDONG, they pick up an Angel of their own as well. And Hyunsu, he really stood back there to kind of just fall back in line. He tried to go for some stops.
And I love the aesthetic of this map so much. The developers have done such a fantastic job of just breathing new life after new life after new life into this game as those pumpkins. What did they contain? Well, we got a scanner there on Sungbin, I believe. I think he instantly popped that. So KWANGDONG, if I'm not mistaken, they were the ones popping the scanner, getting a really good idea of exactly what Liiv SANDBOX has, which is, for now, just one Angel Shield.
Yeah, and Hyunsu is going to go for a toss of the water bomb there. It's going to miss. But you have to keep in mind that both teams are having a pretty good control right now on that top field. They're also holding on to a bunch of Angels, so I feel like things are going to get really crazy with a lot of items being exchanged.
KWANGDONG do have one more Angel Shield, so a little bit more defensive opportunity for them as we enter lap number 3. Ooh, really nice water balloon connecting with 2 different players. Oh, Siren comes through, but actually Liiv SANDBOX basically able to disable it with a ton of attacks. That's going to allow them to consolidate a little bit here. Hyunsu, he's starting to build some distance. He's got a shield and Nitros there, but the UFO will slow him down.
And Sungbin off of that magnet pull, he's able to now get into first place. Hyunsu, he's holding on to a shield only, so it's going to be hard for him to catch up. Sungbin, he has a Nitrous as well.
Yeah, Hyunsu needs to pick up a big item. Oh no, it's another shield, so it's going to come down to Jimin right now. He does have a rocket, potentially to attack Sungbin, but the shield pops, 500 meters left to go. Jimin also has a Nitrous. Is it going to be enough? Oh, it's Daldda coming back. Oh, he's trying to boost through this. 150 meters left. Sungbin, Angel Shield pops, but he gets caught right at the moment. Luckily for him, though, World coming in from the outside out of seemingly nowhere, able to clutch it. I thought for sure Daldda was going to be able to pass it that last moment with those attacks coming in on Sungbin, but World just, with the Ihan timing, making his way and putting KWANGDONG on the board. All tied up now 1-1.
Sungbin was such a crucial player for KWANGDONG that match. He really almost turned the tides there with the magnet, and after that, he was able to absorb so much aggro, all the items coming out of Liiv SANDBOX, that World was able to kind of just capitalize at the end there, come out of nowhere like you put it, State, and we already are tied 1-1 here on our first item mode of KDL season.
Carrider, Drift League just keeps getting better. KDF and Liiv SANDBOX here in the opening match of the regular season going toe-to-toe. Was a 3-2 victory in speed mode for the KWANGDONG Freaks to kick things off, and now Liiv SANDBOX all tied up 1-1 here. Both teams 2-map wins away. KWANGDONG Freaks 2-map wins away from a set victory, sweeping Liiv SANDBOX. Liiv SANDBOX 2-map wins away from forcing an ace match. Let's see if fortune will favor the bold here on Forest Misty Falls. Two-star track coming in on this one, so no sirens, no big bananas, no scanners coming through. This is one of the interesting changes that we have with this patch. coming into the new competitive season of KDL is the meta shifting between maps based on their difficulty rating.
Absolutely, and this is going to be another 3-lapper track for us here. And if we learned anything from the previous one, it's that when you have 3 laps, it usually allows you to kind of idealize your item inventory, so you can kind of pick what you want and take time to really cycle through what you don't need. So I'm expecting to see perhaps things like these barricades being very effective.
Yeah, wow, double barricade into what was that, a water wisp right there on Hyunsu? It took so much damage. Got slowed down, fighting back is Liiv SANDBOX, but cool, somehow a double shield. Able to skirt disaster right there and get through with not too much problem, and that's going to allow him and Sungmin to start to pull away from the pack, but Daldda right there with the magnet, able to close the distance, and wow, I think he actually blocked Cool right there on that jump. Cool was not able to take the shortcut.
Yeah, that was a pretty sick maneuver from Daldda there, and now he just needs to aim this missile onto Sungmin, but he knows perhaps? Okay, he didn't know. He's just going to use it anyways to trade that shield away.
I mean, just go through the attack if you can, right? I mean, if he has a shield, he has a shield. If he doesn't, at least they're going to be able to spin him out, as Daldda with some really nice maneuvers right there through those turns. And navigating through the barricades, Sungmin pops the shield to get the... I love this synergy right there from Liiv SANDBOX. They fire the missile, and they pop the barricade at the same time. It's like, you can dodge one of these, but not the other.
Yeah, that was definitely a good call coming out from Liiv SANDBOX, timing their attacks properly. But keep in mind that Sungmin keeps picking up shields after shields, and he's still holding on. Nope, not anymore. He pops the Angel, so now it's the chance for Liiv SANDBOX to kind of send him back, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, Jimin was going to spin all the way off the map, so he just reset right there now in 8th place. Is going to try and close the distance, but here in the final lap, it's going to come down to Daldda once again here for Liiv SANDBOX, unless Hyunsu and Byungsu are able to pull a rabbit out of their hat. But World and Cool looking so good. 300 meters left to go. Cool gets slowed down, but KWANGDONGFREECS in a commanding position here. Jimin, he's trying to come up the ranks, but no, it's going to be a clean 1, 2, 3, 4 finish there for the Freaks, as they absolutely had Liiv SANDBOX's number there on Forest Misty Falls.
And you can see KWANGDONGFREECS looking really happy about that dominating win. And you mentioned, State, that KWANGDONGFREECS, their weakness looked to be item mode, but so far here on the first day of the official season of KDL, they are 1 track away from winning against Liiv SANDBOX.
Looking really good, and these are the kind of things that can happen with a big shakeup in item mode. Keep in mind, from KDL Preseason 1 to Preseason 2, we went from pro teams dominating in item mode to amateur teams kind of coming up as upstarts in item mode. And it felt like we had a lot of instances of amateur teams forcing aces against the pros through item mode. But now with another shakeup, maybe KWANGDONGFREECS, who historically they were good but not the best at item, now they can come through and actually deliver some sweeping finishes, as we're just going to keep this train rolling along. Potentially the final map here of item mode between the Freaks and Liiv SANDBOX. It's going to be Graveyard Dark Castle.
We race off into our track number 4 of item. It was picked up by Liiv SANDBOX themselves, and it is going to be a 2-star difficulty track, so we are sticking to that original roster of items once again.
Yeah, both Graveyard Dark Castle and World Tour London Night should Liiv SANDBOX be able to force a track number 5, our 2-star track. So not going to see any of those new items here on this one. It's just classic item mode racing, but a lot faster because of all these gears.
Absolutely, and we can see right now Spear, he's got a double water bomb. I wonder when he's going to throw that one. Right now, he doesn't have an angle yet. Hyunsu sitting up with a lot of defensive capabilities.
Yeah, Hyunsu set up with double shield. Byungsu actually right behind him there had a shield for a moment, but I think he got caught by something as he fell all the way down to 7th place from 2nd. As we begin now the 2nd lap, Spear really close here to Hyunsu, but as you mentioned, the defensive versatility right there is so solid. He still has double shield, though those attacks are going to pop both of them.
And he picks up another one. Hyunsu is just the aggro absorber right now for Liiv SANDBOX, as Daldda, he's going to be falling behind off of that one. Sungmin goes for a water bomb, and it does catch Hyunsu.
Yeah, that one does connect. I mean, the further up you get in the rankings, the higher your chance of proccing a shield once you pick up one of those item boxes. So Hyunsu, no surprise he was able to get a lot of those. And right now it's Daldda and Byungsu leading the pack as Hyunsu falls a little bit lower down on the race. But cool, oh man, with these attacks coming in, yes, he does have that magnet, but unless this UFO, okay, no EMP, so it does pop Cool now able to utilize that magnet to start closing the distance. This is the final lap. Cool has to slow down to try to pick up some items because he knows he needs utility to close the distance, but I feel like that might have been a little bit too much.
Yeah, Daldda right now looking really secure in this position. He's gonna pop the nitrous right there to try to lock in this lead completely. Now, Liiv SANDBOX, they're trying to defend Daldda from these attacks.
And they're doing a fantastic job of it. Daldda's been able to gain so much distance. He still has that shield right now in the bag as the attacks are relentless here for Liiv SANDBOX. Spear gonna be the last hope, but only 150 meters away from the finish line is Daldda, and he is just going to full send it onto a victory. We're going once again to a track number 5.
Man, I love to see Daldda and Hyunsu kind of just working together in the front lines, taking turns absorbing the aggressive items, and this time around, that strategy has planned out perfectly. Liiv SANDBOX, they won in such a dominating fashion here in track number 4, and once again, we go to that track number 5.
Yeah, and I love you pointing that out. I mean, Hyunsu, he was sitting in first place for a very long time, and he just had double shield after double shield after double shield, so when KWANGDONGFREECS were finally able to dispatch him, not just with regular attacks popping the shields, but also a UFO, if I'm not mistaken, that gave Daldda so much room to just launch himself through the ranks, and then the attacks from Liiv SANDBOX on the back end were just relentless. They did not let up at all, did not give KWANGDONGFREECS any room to close the distance, and that's going to allow them to force a map number 5 here in item mode.
And we love to see the match number 5 always happening in an exciting matchup like this. And the track is going to be World Tour London Night.
Back to the classic streets of London to close this one out. With a 2-2 score, KWANGDONGFREECS, if they're able to be victorious here, they will sweep Liiv SANDBOX both in speed mode and in item mode, or there will be a very close 3-2 in each of them. If Liiv SANDBOX, however, is able to win this track, they will be able to force that ace match.
And whichever outcome comes out, both teams have fought so amicably today. And as we take a look at the standings up here, it feels like Daldda and Hyunsu, this is the strategy for Liiv SANDBOX. Those two try to be at the runner positions, making sure that they have someone to take first place, while Jimin and Byungsu, they're more focused on gathering items. But keep in mind that Jimin and Byungsu, right now, they have the missiles ready.
Oh, Thunderbolt actually coming in is going to take a lot of the momentum away here from Liiv SANDBOX, as Spear going to try and close the distance, and Daldda getting caught up with a UFO. Shield's not going to help you against that one, buddy, but still, he does have enough distance ahead of the pack that he's still able to retain position number 1, and with double shield and Byungsu right behind him with a nitrous and a shield. Oh, this Thunderbolt, though. Nice catch there with a shield.
It's all Byungsu right now. KWANGDONGFREECS versus Byungsu is happening here in lap number 2.
Jimin, he does have a Thunderbolt in his inventory, so keep in mind, that is a big utility item to come through here, a big attack that might be able to manifest, and KWANGDONGFREECS, they don't have too many shields in the inventories, although I say that and they pick up a couple more. Spear, Cool, both rounding at the top with some shields, although Spear gets caught there by a big water balloon.
And I love the combination that Hyunsu is holding on to right now with the magnet and the boost. I feel like Liiv SANDBOX is going to feel a lot more secure to try to control the positions in this final lap here.
Yeah, and Hyunsu, even if he does get passed by some attacks, he does have that nitrous and the magnet to be able to close this one out. Now, Daldda's going to try and come in. He actually just wants to take away some aggro, so he's going to fall back. Hyunsu right now, we're going all the way down to the finish line. Byungsu's in the lead. Hyunsu actually going to magnet off of him to close the distance because he has that nitrous in the bag. Spear coming in. He only has a shield. 15 meters left to go, but he navigates through the barricades, and he's able to work his way to first place. KWANGDONGFREECS, they are pumped up on stage. 3-2 win in speed mode, 3-2 win in item mode. And their success from KDL preseason 1 and 2 continues on. They continue to be really the ultimate challenge here for Liiv SANDBOX, who have not been able to figure them out. And the Freaks are once again in a tremendous position to start off the regular season of KDL.
What a great day for the fans of Guangdong Freaks. I love that Spear at the end there was able to clutch that victory for his team. He took such a inner line that he was actually able to dodge the barricade in a manner where he was able to also get the best position to go into the finish line. It felt for a moment there that Liiv SANDBOX, they had such a good control near the end. 2 players in 1-2, but all it took was just one Spear, the player himself, to dismantle Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, he didn't have a nitrous or anything in the bag either. It was just pure raw racing. But you know, with these new gears, you pick up acceleration a lot faster coming out of a turn like that one. Spear was just able to barely cross that finish line ahead of Liiv SANDBOX. And although it's often, you know, a race of meters or centimeters, that is at the end of the day how you become a champion. As KWANGDONGFREECS wins a nail biter here against Liiv SANDBOX, 3-2 in speed, 3-2 in item, and potentially their toughest opponent of, you know, the regular season before we go into the postseason already dispatched.
It is a phenomenal start here for Guangdong Freaks. The fact that they haven't had to even showcase some of their strategies in Ace Match by sending out World just means more advantage in the bag for them, just as you put it, State. And although Liiv SANDBOX, they lost this time, we are going to see this matchup happen more and more throughout the season. So hopefully next time they're able to get us to at least that Ace Match.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see these teams once again face off in the postseason here of KDL. It just feels inevitable with how skilled both these rosters are from top to bottom. I mean, yes, the Freaks won in speed and they won in item mode, but both those races could have gone either way. I mean, a couple different changes happen in speed or an item on just 1 or 2 of those tracks, and we might have Liiv SANDBOX emerging victorious 3-2, 3-2. It was so close from start to finish.
Yeah, and especially in the item mode, it felt to me that it's just so hard to determine who's going to win in item mode anymore, because it's literally just up to what kind of items you get and how fast you're able to devise a strategy off that. And we've seen that strategy sometimes being not even relying on the magnet boost as we have seen in the previous seasons. Like Spear, he was able to maneuver just with this raw skill, all of a sudden be able to take an advantage. And it also seems to me that barricades are proving to be really effective right now.
Yeah, I feel like the meta for item mode is going to be a lot more skill-based. It's going to favor people that have the mechanical ability to succeed in speed mode to also come into item mode. And I got to say, the patch changes, having seen pro players play with them here in the KDL, I mean, like, chef's kiss. Item mode is so much better now. It's so much fun. And this is just the beginning. We know the meta is going to evolve over the course of this season. And I could not be more excited to see what the future has in store for us.
I hope the future has a big banana, because for me, I still didn't see it today on the camera, you know?
Yeah, we only had, what was it? I think it was either 2 or 3 3-star maps. We didn't get any big bananas, but I want that big banana, man.
What's the drop rate on that thing? How come we can't see it?
Seems pretty low. Seems pretty low. I mean, maybe somebody in the back was able to pick one up, and we just didn't see it because we were watching the front. But I was watching the little item feed. I didn't see any big bananas. I want to see some big bananas, man.
Good thing we have another item match today, right?
Yeah, we got one more coming up in a little bit, but man, what a banger match to start off KDL Season 1. That was really a treat from start to finish, not just in speed mode, but in item mode.
Yeah, but of course, we are now ready to go on to the break. When we're back, we'll be featuring a match between FINALEe-sports and Seongnam Rock, so don't go anywhere.
it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do